looking for mom face. Oh, men can have it too. So I really actually feel like I found my ikigai. Diana did a great job explaining it when I founded Phi Healthcare, because I feel like it's one of the biggest barriers that people have in actually taking the jump into early retirement. And I honestly feel like if we can have people take that jump just a little bit earlier, the FIRE community is perfectly positioned. We're resourceful, we're creative, we're efficiency-oriented. We're the types of people who can create innovation. And if I can use my crazy numbers, healthcare brain to help folks move into that, and if I can take the 3 years and the 100 people that I talked to and the thousands of papers I read and made that public to speed that process along, I mean, I can't imagine a more meaningful purpose. So, but I'm not going to talk about healthcare. I'm going to talk about how I got over into this place that I am where I get to live my ikigai. So the concepts, I'm not going to dig into them quite yet, but it's about the 8 forms of capital, and only one of which is financial. And my argument is that there are many, many others, and often we'll exchange those capitals for financial capital, and how that can be detrimental. We need to consider all these various forms. But first, I want to tell you a little story. Like we're gathered around a campfire. Look at that. So just really comfortable. Mama Lynn's going to tell you a story. So when I was 12 years old, I've always thought of myself as not a very good writer. And I wrote this essay. I labored over it. It was actually about a barber chair. I promise there's a point. My dad was in the Coast Guard, and he brought this barber chair back from Attu Island, which is on the Aleutian Island chain in Alaska. And I wrote all these details about this barber chair, and I actually won this national essay. And I kind of look back and laugh, and I'm like, what were the other entries? But I did, and they gave me 2 savings bonds, a $100 one and a $50 one. So I'm 12 years old, this is the 80s. That was a lot of money for me. And then I learned that $100 savings bond, they'd only paid $50 for it. And I was like, hey. But then that was the moment. Now I'm going to show you a slide that's a little grainy, and it's probably good because we got a lot of crimped hair going on. We have a lot of stonewashed jeans, but these were the savings bonds. Still have the rose-colored glasses. And I realized in my 12-year-old mind that something that you buy in the present could be worth a different amount in the future. And the variable between those 2 points was time. So my 12-year-old mind was completely blown. And naturally, I started a little babysitting business. And naturally, I took that money down to the bank. I walked down, too young to drive. And I said, I would like to start investing now. And they promptly sent me back home to get my parents because I was underage. But I didn't stop after that. I didn't give up. I'm fairly unreasonable. And things went really well. I mean, I quietly invested because nobody's going to take investing advice from this little 12-year-old with crimped hair, and they shouldn't. But I just quietly did that. I was quietly fascinated by the possibilities. And it just kept accumulating, and I just kept encouraging my friends, and nobody really listened. But it was incredible, the power of that compound interest over time. And everything was going really, really great. I met a man. I was a little older than 12. Let me back that up. Rewind a little bit. I went to college. I actually took some of those proceeds from my babysitting investing and traveled around the world for a year and a half. Nobody I knew was doing that. I was supposed to go to school, but I just didn't. And came back, finished college, met my husband. He is incredible. His name's Carl. He's a chef. And we settled into really, really nice life. And everything seemed so good. I was starting to grow a little bit deaf in my left ear, and I got it checked out. It was totally fine. It was swimmer's ear, but it continued for a year. And then I found out, I got a phone call, and I found out that they said, Lynn, you have a brain tumor. And I remember getting that call. I actually don't remember that much that he said after that. I do remember crumpling up in my closet on plush blue carpet, horrible carpet. And I remember thinking that the future that I thought that I had now was very different than the future that I thought I had ahead of me even the day before. I came to that realization. So what were we going to do? By now I'm in my late 20s. A few weeks later, we scheduled the surgery and brain tumors removed. It went okay. I had to learn how to walk again. And all those babysitting investment, all of that was about to go to medical bills. All of it gone. And not only that, I wasn't able to work full time. I was still in a lot of pain. So we had this sort of new future to face. What were we going to do? So it took some time. I remember my friend saying to me, Lynn, I can't wait to see what you make of this. And I remember thinking, I'm not ready to make anything of this right now. But we did sort of slowly rebuild. We rebuilt our strength. We rebuilt our health. We rebuilt our family. We found this perfect house, perfect area, moved in, had a couple little girls. And we started rebuilding our life. I became a nurse. And life was really good. It is really good. In fact, it was so good that we realized that we wanted to spend more time with our family and we wanted to spend more time traveling. And as a nurse, I wanted a little bit more flexibility. So I approached my boss and I said, hey, I have this dream job I want to dream up where it's completely flexible. I work as much or as little as I want, remotely if I'd like to, from anywhere in the world. What do you think? And they said no. So I said, well, thank you so much. For 13 and a half years, I've loved serving, but I'm going to take some time to be with my family and to travel. I'm going to take a mini retirement or a long retirement, months or years. I don't know, but I know I've rebuilt a point where my passive income is greater than my nursing wage. So at that point, work became optional. So I left. And it was exhilarating and wonderful. And we were working on our house. We were so excited. This wonderful human, his name is Travis Shakespeare. He's actually the director of the Playing with Fire film you guys may have seen. He said the Wall Street Journal is looking to feature houses. So I thought, perfect. I love our house. Come to our house. So here I am. I'm getting ready. I've retired. Wall Street Journal is coming to our house. And then we start realizing that the little problems with our house were actually a bit bigger than little. So our house had some water damage that was behind the siding. It was quiet water damage over time. The insurance company called it catastrophic. They used the words at risk for imminent collapse, which was not reassuring. The guy from the insurance company went like this, and then he went like this. I'm not kidding. And I said, that's okay. I thought this is going to be okay because I do all the research, I do all the data, I have the best insurance. And they said, this is outside of what we'll cover. So they covered nothing. We live in an area where the cost of living is high, and it's hard to find construction providers, and certainly hard to find ones that want to build back a house with main form of entry with small children in the area. So we were in a bit of a pinch because now I had just quit my job. The Wall Street Journal was coming out to our house, and it looked worse than that. So I think a lot about this. I think, why did we decide to proceed anyway? Because we did. And I honestly think it's because we feel strong and wealth in these 8 forms of capital that we have in our life. It did involve drinking wine at 11 a.m., which I mean, they were in my house. I said, take pictures, like this is our story. Don't do this, but this is what I did. I bribed the girls with chocolate so that they would smile. And then when they smiled, their teeth were all brown. So don't do that. The photographer was not very happy with me. But it made sense at the time. It was a little stressful, but this is what they featured. I wanted them to kind of show the journey, but I also understand why they didn't. And one of the reasons that I wanted to tell you this is so that people know. So that's the front of our house, and they showed the nice parts of it. So I want to tell you about these 8 forms of capital that I think are the reason why we proceeded when what seems very unreasonable. You know, when your house is about to collapse after you fired, like within a week, some people might call that a black swan event. A lot of people say, well, what happens if something really terrible happens? And a black swan event, for those of you who don't know, is sort of this sudden, perhaps catastrophic, rare event. So I felt like I was supposed to proceed. I felt like it was part of what we were supposed to do. I felt like a strong sort of spiritual meaning around it. So we did anyway. So the first form of capital is financial. We wouldn't have been able to take off this time if we didn't have a financial runway. It's money, it's currency, it's stocks. The second form, this is actually the front of my house. There's a cherry tree. You can see my husband back there if you look closely, and my 4-year-old harvesting. This is cherry wood that we use and we cut up and we smoke Gouda with it. Living capital, That is the only reason I have friends. I think it's air, it's healthy soil, it's water, it's natural resources. Sometimes we forget about the things, even if we have a small lot. I actually thought I didn't have anything to put on this slide because I lived in suburbia, not on a farm. And then I realized there's more than I realized. Social capital. That is strong at events like EconoMe, where you get to be with people who share similar interests and values. So let me tell you about social capital with our house. We were having my daughter's birthday party, and the house is pulled apart. My 90-year-old grandmother's there, and we hear a truck backing into our yard. And we look out, and it's our neighbor, full of supplies, and all of our other neighbors. And the guys from the hardware store, I think some guys from the city, they had all self-organized, gone to the hardware store, bought the stuff to help us. And we didn't we didn't even ask. Because honestly, who would dream of asking that of somebody? I thought I might cry at the brain tumor part. I didn't expect this part. Who would ask that of somebody? Give up your entire Saturday? People I don't even really know. Just self-organized. So while we're in there at the birthday party, my husband's like, I think I need to go out. And, they had a lot of supplies. We're wondering, what are you guys going to do? And they started helping us put our house back together. And I think when you look at social capital, you sort of look at who are the people who show up when you don't even ask. And if you don't have people like that in your life, then perhaps it's good to see if you can show up for others. Because I really find that when you don't keep score, you just try to help. And you don't try to help so that you can get help later when your house falls apart, because it doesn't work like that. But it's sort of amazing how it seems to work out. Material capital. So this is our driveway, and we had to put in drainage. So I didn't think of concrete as material capital. Material capital is tools, computers, bikes, stone. But concrete actually is material capital. As we were chopping it up, our neighbor said, "Hey, can we have your old concrete?" And a different neighbor, this is a different one. And I said, sure. He had an erosion problem, and he was otherwise going to have to buy concrete, haul it in, move it, where we had crushed up concrete for him. So it's really amazing, actually, the abundance of stuff we have around us that we consider waste that is actually quite useful. Experiential capital, those are my girls. They think mom and dad work from home, on their home. And experiential capital is things like auto repair and cooking and plumbing and home repair. Those are the things that, honestly, the hardest experiences in my life are the ones that have built up the most experiential capital. Intellectual capital, so that's obviously knowledge and intellect, but I want to add another layer to that. That is also the capacity, willingness to learn a new skill, to apply that, creativity, innovation, thinking outside the box. And I know I have a box within a box on the slide, but you get the idea. Spiritual capital can mean a lot of things for different people. Meditation, yoga, your connection to yourself and the universe around you. So honestly, I think one of the reasons we proceeded to quit and also to have the Wall Street Journal just come right over was because I felt this strong spiritual, this is part of our story. When the time was happening, I wasn't thinking of it as sort of a black swan event. I just felt like this is what we're supposed to do. And cultural capital, we think about culture, the United States and various countries, shared music, food. But I'd also like to add another layer to that one as well. It's people who share the same values, who share the same types of beliefs about how they want to live their life, or about questioning assumptions. So I'm going to give you guys a little quiz. But don't worry, it's not hard. I'm Mama Lynn. So get out your phones if you have them, because I'm going to ask you a Slido question. Think about in your life, which one of these needs a boost? Oh, okay, there's one person. I was like, wow, we need to really work on that. And so small sample size, I love it. So whatever one is the highest scoring, can give you a one-on-one. Okay. Yep, I love it. So social capital is really strong. When we did the test yesterday, it was also an area that people felt like they could really grow. And I think social capital is kind of the superpower, but you don't use it in sort of a manipulative way. But social capital has the potential to give you access to all the other capitals, I think. Social capital, you guys are all actually fulfilling that in a way right now. So even if you just make one connection today, you might be surprised how meaningful that'll be. Okay. So this is our house now. My husband and I put it back together with the help of our neighbors to get us started. We don't have great before pictures, but the entire thing was pulled apart. We had to rebuild that bridge. The siding, we had to reshingle it. It's 3 stories up. You can see the scaffolding we bought. That's now material capital that we own. It was not easy at all. I'm a nurse. He's a chef. This was way outside of our comfort zone. This was very unreasonable. But we're here, I think, because we feel so much wealth. We feel like we're enough, that we could do this. We could figure it out. My friend Rosemary says everything is figure-outable. And I really think it is. So if any of these concepts resonate with you, there are a couple people I want to tell you who make wonderful content in this area. So I've been working with a woman named Vicki Robin. She's the author of Your Money or Your Life. Have anybody heard of her? She just created a post, and she has this concept called the ABCs of wealth. It's the same idea, where we really need to look at a more holistic picture of wealth and richness in life. And also Laura Oldani. She runs Triple Bottom Line FI, which looks at financial lots of abundance. And what we're going to do is we're going to send out the presentation as well as the contact links to their sites after this. All right, thank you so much for coming.